Hello and welcome to Bonus Bookworms. It's the show where we read books, talk about books. I'm your host, Alex.
And I'm Joe.
How you doing, Joe?
Doing good, Alex. How are you?
I'm doing just great.
So this bonus book, normally, the point of this podcast is to love on books. But every once in a while, there's a book that we just have to hate on. So we have this little special episode because there's a book I really want to hate on.
Yeah, this is an emergency bonus episode.
Yeah,
because Joe read this book and he was immediately like, Alex needs to read this book.
So this book won a Hugo Award. For those of you who don't know, Hugo Awards are a big deal. That's like the creme de la creme science fiction, some fantasy award. This is like the Super Bowl of science fiction books.
Yeah, we're going to get into some other books that have won Hugo Awards. They tend to be considered like iconic S-tier level sci-fi fantasy novels that win these books.
Yeah, and so I went in this book, a little apprehension. You know, I read it for a book club, but it's like, hey, it won a Hugo, so I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, and it won this year's Hugo, 2024 Hugo.
Yeah, 2024 Hugo. And you know what? If this book hadn't won the Hugo and we just read it and said, yeah, this is a run-of-the-mill YA science fiction fantasy book, kind of garbage, but just a fun read, I probably would have been okay with it. But I won a fucking Hugo.
I wouldn't even call it a fun read. This was brutal to get through.
Oh, it is brutal. But I said, going in with that expectation, oh, this is a Hugo Award-winning book. It has to be good. There's a high bar here. And basically, you couldn't even trip over this, how low this book went, because it was like 6 feet under.
Yeah.
It was dead on arrival.
Yeah, I listened to it on audiobook just because I haven't had a lot of time to read lately. And so I was just listening to it on my car rides, and I was just like yelling. It's like, this book sucks. I hate this book.
Okay, so the book we're talking about is Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh. Is that her name?
Yeah, Emily Tesh.
And this is not her first novel, though it certainly reads like her first novel. She's written some, I think they're more novella-length books.
Yeah, this is like her first full-length story.
Yeah, but this is not her first story, but holy shit, it reads like, yeah.
Yeah, it's really bad, but that's the episode. All right, bye everybody.
So Some Desperate Glory. Alex, you got the book in front of you. You want to read what it's about?
Yeah. So the back of the book reads thus: While we live, the enemy shall fear us. Since she was born, Kier has trained for the day she can avenge the murder of planet Earth. Raised in the bowels of Gaia Station, along with the last scraps of humanity, she readies herself to face the wisdom, the powerful, reality-shaping weapon that gave the Majoda their victory over humanity. They are what's left. They are what must survive. Kier is one of the best warriors of her generation, the sword of a dead planet. When command assigns her brother to certain death and relegates her to the nursery to bear sons until she dies trying, she knows she must take humanity's revenge into her own hands. Alongside her brother's brilliant but seditious friend and a lonely captive alien, Kier escapes from everything she's known into a universe far more complicated than she could have imagined.
Yeah, riveting.
Yeah, so it's your standard end of the world story. It's beginning is very it's like, wow, you watched Battlestar Galactica and then wrote a book. It's like,
yeah, and so the premise of the book, when you open it up and it gets kind of like the prologue type thing, it's kind of like a setting up the whole thing. It starts off kind of, okay, this could go somewhere. It's humanity's been destroyed, but it is basically what humanity looks like from an alien race that beat us, but we're still the more aggressive animals. We're these, it's describing us as these giant warlike creatures, where most of other alien races in the universe are these peace-loving citizens, and basically what beat us was a giant supercomputer, godlike computer thing, and it kind of goes from there. And I said, okay, interesting premise. I liked the description of alien race, seeing humans as these just berserker type creatures that go around killing everything.
Yeah, if this was like, I don't know, 2001: A Space Odyssey, where the main enemy is a piece of AI, that would be cool, because the main enemy in this book, at least it should have been, the AI that the aliens follow blindly that leads them to destroy Earth. But we find out at the end it's they're not the real enemy.
Yeah, yeah. But so we get that about one and a half page introduction, and then it just implodes right from the get go. Now, so I guess again going into this book, I read it, it blows. But I'm like, I want a Hugo. Okay, I'm gonna go to book club. I'm gonna try my best. I'm gonna say I hated the book, but I'm gonna find 3 things that I liked about the book. That introduction was one, and we'll get into the other 2 eventually. But I wanted to really know what everybody saw in this book and why they think it's so good.
Yeah, if you've read this book, please sound off in the comments on what your thoughts were.
Because I couldn't figure out why this book was so popular to win a Hugo. And I get to the book club and people are just doting over it. They're just on and on and on about it. And I'm like, did we read the same book?
Yeah, I don't know what it is about this writing style. Like, it's written in a YA style, so there's a lot more similar to adult fiction, but a lot of times with YA you get a lot of more like exposition and explanations, like more telling rather than showing, that you might get in traditional adult fiction. However, it's like I think that's mostly done as a way to pad the novel, because it becomes so bloated because every decision that the main character Kier has to make, it just gets done to death. Like, it's like, I could do this and this would happen, or I would do this and this would happen, and like she just keeps repeating the same phrases over and over again. Like, we get it, like 14 billion dead, and while we live, the enemy shall fear us. Like she says, like, I didn't do a word count for how many times those phrases pop up, but I don't know, you could do a drinking game through this and wind up pretty hammered by the end.
Yeah, so before this novel even starts, it gives a trigger warning, which is never a good sign. Basically saying that there's going to be some really foul language and harsh topics talked about.
Yeah, it's things like, forced pregnancy.
Yeah, well, but and just the language they use against the gays in the book, they use insensitive language. Going into the book, like, okay, whatever, I know how people can be sometimes, so I'm not going to worry about it. And yeah, in the beginning of the book, they are being pretty hateful to the gay community, but it reads, it's a military society. That's how they're going to
it's
talk.
Like the humanity is set up so like they exist, like I mentioned Battlestar Galactica, because all of humanity lives on one space station, and they're
basically 4 battleships just kind of joined together into a giant comet.
Yeah, and they're trying desperately to propagate the species and take back the galaxy so that they can be a flourishing race again. And so, like, if you're homosexual, you're not propagating the species, and therefore you're treated as you're lesser.
And it's just military culture. That's how people typically talk, at least from the outside.
Yeah, and like, it's a good theme, and it's brought up several times throughout the book. But I'll spoil some of the thoughts. It does feel very shoehorned in towards the end.
Yeah.
So the way that it's handled throughout the story.
Yeah, so we get into this world where Kier is about to come to age and get assigned to whatever post she's going to be assigned to. She is the greatest female warrior. She's biologically engineered.
Yeah, and I really liked The Giver when they did this, back in the 90s. But I think they even do it in the Divergent series. So this whole like worker placement assignment thing is a very old hat for dystopian stories. But yeah, she's been training all her life because she wants to be the super soldier. She wants to be humanity's answer to all their problems. So she keeps doing like the hardest settings on their training programs, and she's just very hardcore. She alienates herself from the rest of her bunkmates, and she alienates herself from the readers because she's wildly unlikable. And she's always, every conversation she has, she's yelling at people or sucking up to the commanders, and just kind of looking down at everybody because she thinks she's going to save the world.
Again, a lot of people complain about, this is a very unlikable character. And again, it's like, that's the point the author's trying to make, is make it an unlikable character. Not a big deal. But you start to see a lot of holes in the world building because they're all freaking out about where they're going to get placed. And it's like, you're talking about a fringe group of humanity that's only, you find out, about 5,000 strong. They can't bioengineer people anymore because they broke their supercomputer, and it can't handle doing that for whatever reason. Doesn't explain why. Just apparently they can create whole micro dimensions to run these simulations, but they can't code a human being into existence, which it seems kind of sus.
Yeah, there's convenient plot devices. But Kier is blindsided, though, because when the worker placement comes, she's, thinks she's the most qualified person for the position, but in reality, they actually gave someone else the position, and she has to
She basically was a breeder.
She has to train the new hires. We'll put it lightly. By that, I mean she has to give birth to new hires, raise them, and then train them to be soldiers.
Which at that point you're like, okay, this is just going to become a Handmaid's Tale type story. But you can see the author is absolutely not doing it. But again, it breaks down because you literally have the best warrior, the only person that can almost beat the impossible level. The only person that did beat it was her brother, who cheated to beat it. And you're going to say the best thing for her? Better. Yeah, it's like...
Yeah, it's like you're like, I get it, you're trying to breed soldiers, but it's like you're rolling the dice. Like, you think she's going to have 12 kids and they're all going to be as dedicated, as indoctrinated, and as competent as she is. It's
and again, so we're talking future here. We're talking smart military minds, and they're treating her like a breeding horse, and it's like that's not how that works. If you got a top warrior, it's like, no, we're going to use them to be a warrior because she beats most of the boys. Which we find out that they're still kind of sort of genetically engineering people, because the ratio of boys to girls that are born are 2-to-1. So they're still able to control some of this.
Yeah, we're gonna keep making references to better sci-fi stories 'cause it's very Gattaca of them, where they can manipulate genes and produce people who are, at least on paper, better people to suit their purposes.
Yeah, it's just, and again, you see all these plot holes forming. It's like, hey, how come we can do all these things? We're having literal space battles. We're living in space, but we can't, still genetically modify people. We still can't, have some sort of advanced birthing system, because we also find out that pregnancy is even more risky than battle in this world, because on average the women die after their third birth.
Yeah, and we have a couple people listening in. One of them just texted me. She hasn't read this story or anything. She wrote, "Dude, just harvest her eggs."
Well, it's like we're talking about, like they're making, they're harping on the gay characters. It's like you can literally sperm bank that stuff. I mean, we've had the technology for 10,000 years of artificial insemination.
Yeah, it's like
I mean, come on.
You jack it, we pack it. That's what I say.
Yeah, so like who cares if they're gay? Give them a gay magazine, do it in a cup, and then okay, have a nice day. They don't the sexual,
like, you don't need
the sexual orientation of these characters really shouldn't matter in the context of the thing, if you don't want it to. But we got to have our diverse cast of characters here.
Yeah, and we find out that Kier, she doesn't want to be in the maternity ward, so she decides,
because she's spent her whole life being, I'm going to be killing aliens my whole life, and I am the best of the best.
Yeah, and some backstory: she has a sister who fled the ship and has joined the Majota Society.
Yeah, we that's the other thing. We find out there's a whole other human society of a few million people. Millions of people
that have learned to live with the people that have destroyed Earth. They learn to live amongst them and learn their ways, and but they're all considered traitors to humanity.
Yeah, but and when we do get there, we realize that these people are just kind of living life. I mean, you go to it'd be like a European city kind of almost feel to it.
Yeah, but Kier, she meets up with a guy called Avi or Avicenna,
who's also gay.
So yeah, he's this undersized gay character. So he's incredibly ostracized because he's not physically capable of being a warrior.
He's 5'4". And by the way, Kier is like 6'8".
Yeah, they're all
and her brother, I forget his name at the moment, is like 7'5". Because again, genetically engineered warrior children.
Magnus,
yes.
But yeah, so she finds out Mags has disappeared. She knows that he's friends with Avi for some reason, so she goes and sees Avi. Avi's a total just dickhead asshole. Very.
But he's a super genius with computers.
Yeah, he's a super genius as far as what Emily Tesh considers as a super genius. That's why, I don't try and write very smart characters, is because I don't think I'm smart enough to write a smart character. So, but she clearly thought she was smart enough to write a smart character, and he just kind of comes off as a dick. He's not smart at all.
And it's whenever he does something smart, it's like basically, he just did some sort of computer magic.
Yeah, basically.
And he just types away for 10 minutes. Oh, I solved your problems. Give me something that's an actual challenge. And it's like, okay, how did we get from A to B?
He's got this snarkiness as a defense mechanism kind of feel to him. But yeah, he helps. He finds out that Mags has been assigned to something called Strike, which is essentially like their version of a kamikaze pilot. He's like a suicide mission where you go, you commit a high-profile assassination, and you're probably going to get killed on the job.
So here's the next bit here. This dregs of humanity. You're raised, brainwashed, everything to be the super soldier. You turn 18 or whatever it is, and you say, get your assignment, you can say, I don't want it. Okay, you can go to the human planet now and just live your life. No worries.
Yeah, they give you an out.
Yeah, and I'm like, this is a bunch of diehard terrorists, and you're just gonna just go to this other planet that Earthlings hang out at and enjoy your life.
Yeah, I thought that was really nice of them.
Yeah, and it's like
it's like what the Amish are like. Yeah, go live amongst the traditional folks.
Yeah. And so you got your best male soldier you've ever raised. He says, "Yeah, I don't want to do this assignment." So you give him a suicide mission where if he does it, great. If he doesn't, it doesn't matter anyways because it was just assassinating some politician that didn't matter in the scheme of things anyways.
Yeah.
None of it made sense.
Yeah, it's very convoluted, like what the main plot is, and like it's not like I know they're trying to like build suspense, like what's really going on here, but it just gets more and more convoluted as it goes along. But yeah, Kier decides like, oh, I need to go help Magnus, so she gets Avi to help her. There's a captive alien on the ship that they also like liberate because they need her to help them like find the.
He needs to fly the spaceship.
Yeah, he needs to fly the spaceship, and they need the alien like to communicate with the wisdom, which is the AI technology. And this is another thing where the LGBT plus like storylines. Like and the repetition really like irk me is like Kier takes way too long to figure out they them pronouns. It's like 2/3 of the book, just like that 2/3 of they them of they them it whatever I don't know.
And the whole thing with Kier is everyone's like, oh, why aren't you wanting to breed with men? Why don't? And then there's a couple lesbians in her group. Well, why don't you probably just are a lesbian? Why don't you just admit to be a lesbian? Yeah, she's just asexual because she's so driven to fight the war. And it's like doesn't dawn on anybody the whole time. And there's this whole weird asexual relationship that forms between Kier and the alien.
Yeah, they get pretty close.
But that's what by the end of it, that's what the relationship turns into. It's this romantic, not intimate relationship. And it's just when I was reading it, knowing that the big seeing pretty quickly the big drive from this author was diverse characters is like, okay, this is kind of obvious, this is where it is heading. And it was really annoying that they kept going, felt like it kept being pushed. Oh, what are you really a lesbian, or are you just straight and don't realize it?
Yeah, and like the alien Yiso, it's like one of those like child side, like mind of a child, like capabilities of a giant war machine. It's I don't know, it's her character, that character sucks too.
Yeah, they all suck.
Yeah, but that's something I wrote. Is like all the characters suck. They're all just,
so
bland talking.
Yeah, Kier goes chases after Magnus after having this harrowing escape from the comet ship. Which the whole thing with these essentially warp drives, these wisdom drives, is they're altering reality around them, and it's basically just gravity wells. Is what it reads like when she's diving through these things. And basically jumping through dimensions to a different location on the ship, and the whole thing reads like a really bad sci-fi, like a bad version of Star Trek, where there's just these crazy antics.
Yeah, and like it's like trying to like make Kier a little bit likable because she like it shows like she enjoys that stuff. I'm like, I feel like you're doing a mission where you're trying to escape the place that you've pledged your loyalty to help save your brother. For reasons, and you're just like you're laughing and having the best time of your life.
Yeah, it's just
playing around in the gravity fields.
Yeah, so she finds.
Also, the humor in this book is atrocious. Yeah. Every time she tries a joke, it's really bad.
Yeah,
and I didn't quote them, but I should have, because oh boy, that would have been great.
Yeah, so we get to her finding the new human planet. She finds her half sister with the son, who you find out pretty quickly, even though it takes Kier forever and a fucking day to admit it.
Well, I think
The commander of the ship, who claims to be Uncle Joel, basically raped this girl and had a kid with her. And then, and then the woman escapes. You also find out that the half-sister's mother, who's also the mother figure for Magnus and Kier, was the commander of one of the ships that was turned into the super ship, and she was assassinated by Joel.
Yeah, we learn well before Kier does that Joel is a bad guy. Yeah. Like, he's abusing his position as the leader of humanity.
You see all the commanders are abusing their positions. It reads, again, like Handmaid's Tale of the commanders that are just like, yep, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, the maternity ward has essentially become their like harem of sex slaves.
And none of the boys that are out fighting get to actually partake unless if they do something spectacular and prove that their genes should be passed on.
Yeah, so it's a whole the whole reproductive system aboard Gaia Station turns out to be really fucked up.
And again, you're trying. We're futuristic. We're trying to raise the population of this humanity to fight this war, and you're not having any sort of breeding program to say, hey, we need to prevent inbreeding. 1, 2, we need to maximize birth rates because apparently they don't know anything. They can't kidnap anyone that knows anything about maternity stuff, even though they've apparently done that, and they're having a death rate that most third world nations would kind of be horrified about. So it's like, again, it just doesn't work with this, the premise of this world of supposedly these super genius military figures that, you could tell the author's just like, I need to make these people as evil and incompetent as possible. But so we find the half-sister, we find Magnus, and Magnus, Kier finally just realizes, he just wants to have a peaceful life. He loves flowers. He's just this lovable dub of a doofus. And
we land on the planet of Chrysothemis, which they spend 2 weeks there, and then it's sort of just like Earth, but in the future, everyone's a prosperous society.
It read like the city they're in. It read like Amsterdam almost. Just walking around and people are just being people and they're a little bit polite. It's not like walking through New York City. It's like walking through a nice European city. And Emily Tesh is English, so she'd have experience in these nicer cities.
Yeah, it seems like a nice place, but it's like, I don't know, but like Kier's, got the one-track mind. She's on this mission. She's going to save her brother and rescue humanity and destroy the evil Majota that killed off her.
And she finds out the Majota that killed Earth, 14 billion people, is going to that planet to give a speech, so she's going to assassinate them. Yeah. So her, Avi, and the alien...
Magnus.
Well, Magnus... She tries to get Magnus. Magnus says he doesn't want to go.
Yeah, Magnus reveals that he's gay as well, and then he was in a relationship with Avi aboard the ship.
Which we already knew that. Just Kier refused to acknowledge it.
Yeah, we knew it, but Kier is like X-Files level of in denial about everything, her, and which I guess makes sense because she was raised to believe that humanity can do no wrong and everything is as it should be, and so every time something does challenge that belief, she is resistant to accepting it, which I guess makes sense. Like, good point there.
But at the same time,
it's frustrating to the reader though, because we picked up on it forever ago, and it should be revealed to us along with the protagonist when it's happening.
The other problem with it though is she's so accepting of it. It's like, oh, you're gay? Yeah, I don't care. Be gay? I don't care. And it's like, but you're going on this whole anti-gay thing for 100 pages now, and then it's just, oh, my brother's gay. Well, yeah, that's no big deal. Whatever. Who cares?
Yeah. Her views on people being gay is very inconsistent with how she was raised.
And so this is where I started getting nitpicky with the book. Well, really bad. So they go into the wisdom computer that's on the planet, and Avi had abandoned Kier to do his own thing, which is basically take over wisdom, and he needed the alien. Magnus didn't want to join. Kier's just like, okay, fine, I'll do it all by myself. Doesn't realize Avi's already down there. And this thing starts attacking her in the dark. Doesn't know what it is. Magnus shows up, crushes it to death. And Avi comes out, what did you do? Well, it turns out he created a tiger. Now, you're like, okay, yeah, Earth got blown up. They don't know what a tiger is. The cohorts, every age group, is literally labeled an animal. Are you telling me that there's not a single cohort that was any sort of Earth-like cat? Because they had lions, they had all these other animals. They had no clue what a tiger is.
And why did he make the tiger? Like, they're trying to do something.
It's his bodyguard. He's like the guy from Watchman that has the two ligers following him around.
Oh,
that looks like
Ozymandias?
Sphinx. Yeah. That's what I think what the author was going for. But she just made a tiger. And they're like, what's this crazy animal? I don't know.
It's just like purely padding out the story with an inane action scene. Like, you did not need this. Like, you just needed something for Magnus to get injured.
Yeah. And Magnus gets this supposedly deadly injury, but then he just recovers. Oh, yeah, nothing's big. No big deal, because he has magic healing abilities, because of science, whatever.
Yeah, because of reasons.
But because he was eviscerated, that he might not live, but through a just sheer good luck and Kier praying to the Earth Almighty, she saves his life. It's like, why did we need this scene where he gets so mortally wounded? It doesn't work.
Yeah, by the time they have the big confrontation with the supercomputer and the Majota leader, that's like he's healed enough to be part of that fight.
And you also learn that Magnus, for all of his military genius, is a dumbass.
He really is. The way he's voiced in the audiobook, he's like, he talks like this the whole time.
It's just terrible. I'm like, this guy, I get he technically cheated to beat level 10 of this scenario. But to get to level 10, you had to have some tactical genius to get there. You had to have some strategic genius to be, even considered to be doing any of these military things. It's like, I don't think Emily Tesh has any clue how a soldier actually works. Because she treats it like just as this total dumbass jock, like a football player, when being interviewed where you can't actually understand a word they're saying because they've had too many concussions. She's treating him like that. Just this lovable dub of a guy that he's just strong as a bull but dumb as a snail. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah, she's got love for almost all of these characters except for like one of them.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that part. I'm excited to address that.
But so we get to the wisdom. Avi is doing whatever he's doing. He's trying to break into the system. He can't do it. And Kier basically befriends the god computer, and gets Avi access, who then destroys every alien planet in the known universe.
Yeah, like he's been like, oh, I don't care about this, and I've been ostracized for that. But then all of a sudden, like, he sees this as his opportunity to revenge humanity.
He kills something like 20 trillion creatures.
Yeah, he completely annihilates all of, almost all. He leaves 19 planets left in the entire solar system, suitable for human life. And like Mags sees this, he shoots himself in the head. Kier, she's been turned enough to realize that the Majota are actually living creatures, very similar to humans, and that this is a massive loss. And she kills Avi, and then
Avi is clearly a sociopath. The guy's just, he's so broken. He doesn't see what he did, that he did anything wrong. And she's trying to explain to him, you can't just do that. And he's like, why not? They deserved it. And again, it doesn't make sense because he's so ostracized from his community and basically treated like dirt. Yet at the end of the day, he's still like, yeah, this is for my team.
Yeah, just for the sake of moving the story along, it's like he's like, this is my shot to be included or appreciated by my kind, which he's been completely ambivalent to since we met him. It's ridiculous. Yeah. But then now, Emily Tesh, she's killed off almost all of her characters.
Yeah, basically the one character that was driving Kier to do anything other than follow orders.
Her brother's dead.
Avi's dead. The alien is basically dead.
Yeah. And so she's talking on the supercomputer. What do you do when you write yourself into a big hole? You invent time travel.
My biggest pet peeve of every freaking novel that does it, just about. There's very few that do it well. We've talked about one, and it was more of a, the way Terry Pratchett, it was very well done.
Yeah, like there are good books that have time travel. This is not a good book with time travel. Don't get me wrong. Like Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban has time travel. It works really well. Or Back to the Future, like that's like the time travel story. Yeah. But this one, it's not really time travel so much as like traveling to an alternate reality. But the wisdom tells Kier like, hey, I can send you anywhere in time. Where do you want to go? And Kier says, take me back to the day planet Earth was destroyed.
To where the bomb was being dropped.
Yeah.
And she goes there. She sees Uncle Joel basically battered and bruised and unable to function. And supposedly, he almost saved Earth, but couldn't quite do it. And we realized, he lied.
Yeah, this great war hero is actually a coward who ran away.
Which, again, doesn't make a lot of sense, especially since he's standing on a platform on Earth that literally is hit by an antimatter bomb.
Yeah, whether he ran away or not, like, it's moot.
Yeah.
Like he was standing there when the bomb went off.
And Kier's great plan to defeat the impossible scenario is to jump over to where the bomb's dropping, and then jump the bomb into basically empty space.
Yeah, and she does it. She saves humanity.
Yeah, and we jump back to
we jump back to the modern day and a new reality where they're completely different characters.
And this made absolutely no sense. So this whole time is beating in our heads that her and Magnus are twins, they're half sister, but these two are genetically modified to be major warriors, last of their kind. And then she comes back and she's basically the same character but normal sized. Her mom, who they got the genetic material from, had been assassinated, lives. Supposedly a great war hero. No mention of who her father would have been, because again, she's not genetically modified from random genetic code. She had parents. Her half sister, who's now her sister, is basically taking over her mom's ship and is just this great commander.
Yeah, we get this like day in the life. She's now this woman named Val instead of Kier, because it comes out fully to Valkyrie, but she's Val. And then it's like we got a day in the life where she's like, giggling about boys with her roommates, and she discovers that she's actually gay, and
her
has
brother
has a laugh about it.
And her brother, who is fighting for the resistance with the aliens, is just this hippy dippy kid that doesn't know anything, and just this basically over the top caricature of what a basically someone that's fighting for whatever someone else's rights are that they feel are being wrong, but just misunderstood. It just comes off as so cheesy and just flat.
Yeah, and then Yiso shows up, and she kind of
he gives her the memories of her previous self.
Yeah, they give Val the memories of Kier, and so Kier becomes a Valkyr, and
basically she's
recalls all the trauma and also all like the discovering yourself parts of your life that came from being Val. They kind of merge into one, and they become one person, and they're much more well informed, but also capable of doing anything.
Yeah, so she decides that she's gonna stop. I don't even know what exactly, but
yeah, it's unclear to me what the idea was to move the plot along.
Yeah, and basically she goes to Wisdom again on another planet, finds Avi, who's not Avi.
Yeah, Avi's become like a stooge for Uncle Joel at this point.
Yeah, and they're just like evil henchmen trying to commit evil for the sake of evil. There's no logical sense to this, why they're doing what they're doing. And basically the whole idea is humans didn't get wiped out, so they end up taking over the universe because their version of Wisdom outdid the alien version of Wisdom, and they just conquered all the alien races, the 20 trillion alien races with their 14 billion, and now they treat the aliens like if we're told we treat minority groups.
Yeah, like we've essentially, or the humans, Terrans as they're described, because this is sci-fi, we got to call them Terrans, have kind of taken over the Wisdom and are using it for their own nefarious means, similar to how the Majota used it, and it's equally not as good.
Yeah, so we find out that Avi is still a psychopath and kills a whole bunch of people for no apparent reason, and Kier's like, I don't understand. We got to change it all back, but with try again from my original timeline.
Yeah, and this time the again, for no particular reason, the Wisdom's like, I'm going to send you back, and then I'm going to self-destruct.
Yeah, and it made no sense. And basically we're finding out that the Wisdom basically gives whoever the user is whatever they want. So, and the alien race that controls Wisdom is a dead race that Wisdom keeps making new avatars of the last handful of that alien race to keep controlling it. And basically they're just their whims, whatever. They look at a bunch of simulations, which again, we're talking godlike computer that can literally alter reality as we know it on a galaxy-wide, universe-wide scale, and it can't come up with a better answer than just nuke them, or just throw this one random person over here and You'll be fine.
It's very like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Like, what's the meaning of life? 42. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, even the supercomputer doesn't have all the answers.
Yeah, but it's like, so it decides that, basically Kier and the supercomputer are befriending somehow. And the supercomputer's like, I'll just commit suicide, but we'll go take you to the other reality. You'll keep all your memories from Val and all your memories from the first third of the story, and we'll see if you can make a change there. And basically, Wisdom self-destructs, and it sends all these alien races into total chaos because they've been basically just living by this supercomputer. It dictates their daily lives. It's like Thanos snapping his finger and half the universal population just disappears, but then...
Cut. All right, we're back.
Okay, where was I? I stopped mid-rant there.
I don't remember.
Anyway, so we go to this, back to the original timeline. Wisdom kills itself. Thanos.
Oh, yeah,
Thanos snaps his finger. Half the people just aliens disappear. Pilots disappear mid-flight. Planes crash. All this mayhem happens. It's just like, oh, that's no big deal. So we have this epic fail of Wisdom, the supercomputer, and just, oh yeah, that's no big deal. We'll figure it out. Humans are like, hey, we just won. We can go take over the universe now. And they're all meeting up, and basically, Kier's is like, we're causing a coup. We're taking over.
Yeah. The plan is to like get all of the women and children off of Gaia Station and blow it up.
Yeah, with all the original people to die with the ship because they're not fit for humanity.
She realizes Uncle Joel is actually a warmonger who takes advantage of his people, and he's actually like this person that she's looked up to her whole life, and he's actually this huge monster.
Yeah,
and
person. And this is where we get to the second part that I was like, okay, this was really well done. One of the, I said 3 things. This was number 2, and we're 5/6 of the way through the book now. Kier goes to the bridge of her mom's old ship, and sitting in the captain's chair, trying to figure out what we need to do to get this plan to pop off without any casualties and without command figuring it out. And Uncle Joel comes over and does a total creeper scene of trying to, get her to sleep with him. Again, this is a 50-something-year-old dude with an 18-year-old girl.
Yeah. Who's also impregnated that girl's sister.
Yeah. And, remember, this is super soldier, 6'5", 6'8", giant beast of a woman. And this guy is earlier generation genetically modified warrior, but he is smaller than her and he has a bum knee. But I said the author writes this scene. It was so creepy, so compelling that I'm like, okay, this sounds like real life. Then he blacklights her and gaslights her and saying, oh, why didn't you just say no? I wasn't doing anything wrong. And she's questioning herself, and questioning her ability as a warrior because she's never actually been tested in real battle. Can I actually stop if I can't stop this guy from putting his hands on me? And so I said that was really well done. It was really well written. It was one of those things that was like, it's so horrible you don't want to read it, but you're just compelled to keep reading. I don't know. Did you feel the same way, Alex? Or
yeah, I thought it was particularly well done. I don't like the way Joel's character was handled in relation to like all the other characters, which I guess we're at that point now where like his character gets killed. But so yeah, their plan, like they get a lot of people onto the evacuation ships and they're about to blow it up, but Joel kidnaps Yiso.
Yeah, the alien that.
So yeah, they're and like we're I was like, leave her, we gotta leave her because we gotta go, and Kier's the hero, so she's like, no, I gotta save my friend,
and it keeps going like, oh, we're gonna save the women and children, and then oh, we gotta save all these people because they're not really part of it, they're just running maintenance and life support.
Yeah, they're victims too.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, we gotta save everybody, all 5,000 people, we gotta get them to this ship. Command, as we heard, as we said earlier, literally is running their own harem, and we're getting some of the commanders who are fighting back, saying, oh, we can change you, we can make you better again. You don't know, even though they're earlier in the book, they're literally taking Lisa or whoever his name was.
Yiso?
No, the lesbian friend.
Oh, Cleo?
No. Cleo was the black one, the token black woman.
Yeah. there's one black person in the book.
There's two, because there's her, maybe brother.
Oh, that's right.
I'm like, well, how do you know that just because he's black, he might be your brother?
Yeah. She's like a tertiary character too. Like she's like
she's the second best woman in their cohort.
Yeah, she's there just to pad the story out some more and introduce one more story arc that needs to get closed out. And so like she has a minor conflict with Kier that gets dragged out way too long. Yeah. But then we get to know her. It's like, they named me Cleopatra because that's the only black woman they knew from the past. And
yeah, it was painful. But again, it's like, we can save these. We need to save these people. I'm like, why? And then Avi, who's still trying to kill billions of people or millions of people or just the people on the ship, and he doesn't understand that that's wrong. They're like, you're just because you never had any friends, you don't understand that killing is wrong.
And that's where I kind of get into with Joel. So every main character is gay or non-binary, some way, shape, or form, which is great. I love that there's representation. But the Val Kier gets to, she's a super soldier who kind of realizes things are wrong. She never really becomes a likable character, in my opinion. No. She's kind of a raging asshole the entire time. But she you get enough time with her to understand where she's come from. We get Mags, who's he's likable from the beginning enough, I guess. He whines a lot, but otherwise, Avi though, he kills millions of people twice,
trillions of people once, billions the second time, and then he's trying to kill millions the third time.
But he gets one conversation. He gets his redemptive arc. He's like, I'm not going to apologize for what happened in those other realities because I'm not the one who did it. But he eventually comes around to I do have no friends, and that's why I'm acting out right now. And he gets this redemption of arc. There's the wisdom, this AI technology, which has caused the destruction of humanity. That gets redemption because it's like, I see where you're coming from. I'm going to destroy myself.
And spoiler, even though self-destructed, it kept a small little part of itself to live on the ship. Yeah. That Kier and Euro fly off into the sunset on kind of thing. Yeah,
and then even the Majota, the alien race, they destroyed 14 billion lives destroyed, and even they're they've improved society. They've
the only one that dies is Joel.
Yeah, the only one that dies. He is
irredeemable.
Yeah. I'm gonna sound butthurt over this, but he is the one straight white man in the story, and he gets no redemption. He turns into a cartoon villain, and rather than give him a chance to earn forgiveness, every other story.
There was one other white straight man. It was he was some sort of lieutenant or something that was dating the Asian woman, so it was a mixed race.
I guess.
So that was okay because he was dating an Asian woman.
Okay, but Uncle Joel, he becomes this cartoon villain of he's like, I want my harem of sex slaves. I'm manipulating humanity to my own needs, and what happened? He gets no redemption whatsoever, and they blow which is very inconsistent with every single character in this story. And instead of that, they kill him in one of the most brutal ways because they push him into a portal and blast his bloody corpse over 32 dimensions.
Yeah, it was bad. And then she somehow survives against all odds and again flies off into the sunset.
Yep, they leave. Gaia Station's destroyed. The rest of humanity
is going to go to the
presumably flies to Chrysothomus and integrates with the Majota.
Which again, you're talking a bunch of terrorists, a bunch of extremists going into a planet that's never dealt with this in a generation, and you're saying, that's just going to be fine?
Yeah, can Chrysothomus handle an influx of 5,000 refugees, most of whom have pledged their lives to destroying you? We'll see.
Yeah, it's it'll be fine. Don't need to worry about that. Yeah, and it said Joel's literally the only one that gets killed in this by the end of it.
Yeah, and it would be if you want to be consistent, give him a redemption arc too. He's done some horrible things, but everyone else has done horrible things too.
I'm a fan. Just kill a whole bunch of them. Yeah, we couldn't save all of them. It was terrible. That causes trauma. Yeah, a bunch of the commanders are evil, just as evil as Joel. Let them die. Let them. Have them killed in the fight over the ship.
Yeah, that's even better yet. Like, have more characters die. Like,
Yeah,
kill more. Like the scene where Mag shoots himself in the head. That's really cool. Speaking of which, that's like a really, I don't know if she was trying to subvert it, but the kill your gays trope. Like the two gay characters that were out at the time both get killed in that scene.
yeah,
I mean, they come back, but
yeah.
it's
But it just and like you said, it's great to have diverse characters. This story didn't need it. It was just there. None of it mattered, that their sexuality, who they were dating, what they were doing. This was a completely different story with that just tacked on to it that added nothing to the actual story.
And like it's like the story itself becomes this metaphor for tolerance and acceptance, which can be applied to the members of the LGBT plus community, but it's kind of subverted because you violently killed like the one guy who doesn't play along, rather than try and like bring everyone into a cohesive whole. You just kind of killed the problem.
Yeah, but I said none of it. I said none of it was needed. So yeah, if you want to have that as a main arc, have that as a main arc. But your story is a completely different story at that point. You're in this society, futuristic society where a lot of the problems you're writing about are easily solvable with the technology they supposedly have. It's like, okay, a character is gay. Who cares? If you need their genetic material, you can get it. It's like, you don't need to. You can literally have you don't have to have the women just lining up to give birth. You can literally have machines just raising the fetuses.
Yeah, they can be raised in test tubes.
Yeah, you literally have that technology. And yet it's just like, oh no, we're going to do this the old-fashioned way.
Getting weird looks from that last comment. It's like test tube babies. It's sci-fi. You can do what you want.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, they literally have all this technology. They have the technology to create alternate dimensions, many alternate dimensions with.
Well, the Majota had the ability to do.
Well, no, but the where they're running the scenarios for their training, that's the same technology, just on a smaller scale. So they could have had literally a room set up where they had these computer programs raising children and whatnot. They literally had that technology. No, we're just going to have a Handmaid's Tale scenario here with atrocious die-offs of the women, pregnant women.
It's very forced to try and prove a point, which is
then
kind
the other plot hole they threw in at the end there was they're talking about the casualty rates of the men that are flying the ships and doing all these supposed missions that we never hear about, by the way. They're just, it's off in the ether. Oh yeah, someday these guys do it, and then it's like, oh yeah, they do have small scale guerrilla battles, and we have really high casualty rates. I'm like, there's 5,000 of you. You can't afford to have casualties. You've been going at this for essentially 20 years. With 5,000 people, and that's your population is going up, and supposedly humans are this mega race. Basically, the only thing holding us back is lack of numbers and lack of funds to buy the weapons. But all of a sudden, in this third universe, our casualty rates are really high for the men. So it doesn't, it said it didn't compute with what the whole story had been saying beforehand.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It's like, can I get into the writing real quick? Like the writing style, that YA style, it's really bad. I don't know why it's become so popular lately with like the average reader, but I don't know. I read it when I read. This is a book. I'm gonna spoilers. This will be a bonus episode someday. But we talked about. We'll be talking about A Court of Thorns and Roses, and it's almost the exact same writing style as that. Just like the angsty older teen who they're trying to come off as like not in touch with their emotions, but it's like it doesn't matter if every single character is like almost exactly the same. It doesn't matter if they're cool or collected, if they're a hothead, if they're snide and snarky. It's like, get ready for them to come out onto the page and just explain exactly what they're feeling at that exact moment. Get ready for them to just repeat themselves over and over again with stock phrases. Get ready for them to, like, I don't know, I just lost my train of thought. But anyway, they're just
these horrible novels, Alex. Your brain's rotting.
I know, it's terrible. But yeah, there's like it's all the same. Like they're caricatures of human beings, and they're gonna tell you exactly what they're feeling. And that's what I was gonna say. They're gonna also, like, every decision has to be weighed out for pages on end. Like, it's like, do I run this way? This might happen. If I run this way, this might happen. If I end humanity, like, this might be the consequences. But what about this? If I do this, I do this.
And usually there's scenarios that they come up in their heads are like, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah, and by the end, you're telling the reader and what to think, rather than like putting down like, here's what they did, here's how they behaved. You know, like give a little bit of what they're thinking, but you don't have to give all of it. And that, like, you get much more quality literary discussion, which we don't really get for this book. We just get exactly the message forced down your throat, as if the author and the editors thought the reader was too stupid to get the idea, and we're just beating them over the head with it the entire time.
Yeah, and when it comes down to like the people in my book club, the reason why they loved it was, there's gay characters. They have a diverse cast, and so we get a point of a different gender of a person. You know, the author being a woman. Oh, we get a woman's perspective on these problems that she's trying to tackle. And I'm like, but it's, that doesn't. It's still poorly written. It's still riddled with plot holes and bad character development.
Yeah, and like you said, like if this hadn't won the Hugo Award, like I probably wouldn't have read it to begin with.
Yeah,
but
me neither.
Here, I want to go over books I have read that have won the Hugo Award. I was going to go through like the entire list, but there's like 60 books. But here's a couple that I've read, which I'm pretty sure you've read most of these as well. Dune.
I read Frank Herbert. Good book.
So Dune is considered like the Mona Lisa of sci-fi novels. Like the movies just came out. It's probably the best known sci-fi novel.
Yeah, and it's usually on a list of the like whatever your numbered list of sci-fi books. It's usually in the top 3.
Yeah, and like I'm not gonna compare this book or really any other book on this list to Dune. Like Dune, like I'm gonna make an unpopular opinion. I'm gonna say Dune is not very well written, but I will say the world building is spectacular, and he doesn't leave plot holes. Like it's a very well thought out series for being as complex as it is. Here's some other ones. The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Le Guin. Have you read that one?
I don't remember it, but I think I've read a bunch of her books, so I probably did.
Hyperion by Dan Simmons.
Read that one.
All right. The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman.
Read that one.
That book won every award. I don't know.
Yeah. It deserved it.
So good. Speaking of Neil Gaiman, American Gods.
Another good one.
Right. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Best one out of that series.
Yeah, that one's like Harry Potter. Like, say what you will about J.K. Rowling, but Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is like as far as kid lit goes, it's kids fantasy. It's the gold standard. Like it's there's no. Here's a couple more. Ender's Game.
I haven't read that one.
You haven't read Ender's Game?
No.
Oh, bro. If you wanna, you're gonna read that and be like, I see where Emily Tesh got all of her ideas.
Okay.
It's something wipes out humanity, and like, it's very.
So basically, Some Desperate Glory was fanfic for Ender's Game, is what you're saying.
It sometimes reads like fanfic for Ender's Game.
Yeah.
Which Ender's Game is Orson Scott Card is very anti-LGBT, so that's an interesting fact. But anyway, here's a couple other. There's a couple that didn't win but were nominated. I'm pretty sure you haven't read this one. I might put this one on a later season, though. It's called Flowers for Algernon.
I haven't read that one.
Oh, that book is so good. That's an old book. Slaughterhouse 5.
I actually didn't read that one. I was supposed to read it for school, but because I was a senior, we didn't have to read it because we got out of that class a week early as seniors.
Unfortunately, I haven't read a lot of sci-fi. I'm finding out by this list because the next 3 are all Dan Simmons books. That's Hyperion.
Yeah.
The Fall of Hyperion.
Yeah.
And The Rise of Endymion.
Yeah, read all those.
Also Ilium.
Yeah.
Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Okay.
And this book is definitely going to be on my list someday. Perdido Street Station by China Miéville.
I haven't read that.
Oh, that book is so good. You got to read it. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is is this book on the level with those other books? Because we've both read most of those books, and there's some other ones in there that I'm sure you've read, but is this on that level of Hugo Award winning books or even Hugo Award nominated books?
Yeah, and again, the next book we read in our book club was I think a 1986 Hugo winner called Startide Rising by David Brin, I believe. And it was a dense, difficult read. And it had a lot of problems with it. And one of the books that they said was Isaac Asimov that they beat out. That I'm like, oh, that should have easily won because Isaac Asimov, and it was one of his I, Robot books, from the actual series. It's like, that's a good story. But the people in my book club hated that book, the Startide Rising book, and all their reasoning was, everything was surface level. He never dug deep on any of the. He had all these grand ideas and never got deep on them. He just kind of flashed through them. But if you actually, when you're reading the story, it flowed together. It was well written. Yeah, he didn't dig deep, but he covered breadth of actual like pushing science fiction genre. It just, it was just like, this book probably shouldn't have been, it might have been a weak year for contenders, but it was still way better than Some Desperate Glory.
Yeah, just like I put it as standard teen sci-fi fare at its best. It's not changing the face of science fiction the way that the other books on that list have done.
Yeah. Well, I want to go through the list of winners here. Where did you get the list, Alex?
Just Wikipedia. Always cite your sources. As a librarian, I'm proud that I used Wikipedia. But there's like other ones like Man in the High Castle, Starship Troopers. Like those are winners.
Yeah. I mean, Philip K. Dickhead, Man in the High Castle.
Yeah, exactly. Which is another great, that's a great alternate reality book.
Yeah.
It's.
I mean, the 70s were a huge science fiction time. You had Isaac Asimov won it, Arthur C. Clarke won a bunch, Ursula Le Guin, as you said, won a bunch, and so you got these heavy hitters, and you have Emily Tesh kind of just, you're like, where's this coming from?
Yeah, and I wanted to read like the one that won last year. Was it Nettle and Bone?
I read that one too.
What did you think of it?
It started off amazing, and by the end I was just kind of like, meh.
Okay.
And basically with that one was it read kind of like this, where there's no consequences for all their actions. Everyone lived, and was happily ever after. The only person to die, they had two people die. It was the evil king and the witch, the evil witch, who ended up. But the evil witch wasn't actually evil. She just had been cursed to live forever until the line of the kings ended. And so she was trying to die because she didn't want to live anymore. But she, under that curse, she couldn't tell anyone how to beat the curse. So, but again, it was just like, and then a lot of the stuff that's set up in the beginning never. What's the thing where if you see in Act 1, if you see a gun hanging on the wall, by Act 3, they have to use
Chekhov's gun?
Yeah, whatever that is. She had set up a bunch of that, and then only used maybe half of it. It's like the whole thing of Nettle and Bone. In the beginning, she's weaving a cloak of nettle and bone, a magical cloak, and then she never uses it. This whole the whole setup of the novel, start of the novel, completely ignored in the end of the book. Did nothing.
No, that's the worst when that happens.
And I'm ready. I'm like, did I miss it? did I just? But again, the beginning of the book was just this fantastic, almost horror gothic type thing, and then it just goes to an adventure novel. Then we go there, then we go here, then it's this fantastical adventure, and it kind of goes YA in its tone.
Yeah.
So it just, it wasn't bad, but it's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fizzled out at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I feel like the writing in the stories, it's not up to par with the other stuff that we mentioned, and it's not a good book. I would even if it hadn't won the Hugo, I'd say this is not a good book. It's
again, if it hadn't won the Hugo, I'd been like, yeah, it's not my book, but I don't really care. Just it's whatever it is. It's good for the people that want these kind of stories, gets people interested in reading. But it's not a award-winning style book.
Yeah. Also, the swearing in this book is terrible. I could just go on about different things. It's like you don't know how to swear, you don't know how to set up jokes, and it's like rather than convey genuine emotion, you just start swearing a lot. It's like, I can't believe you. I can't fucking believe you. And it's like, okay. You're just padding out your story some more. It's kind of like, it's almost like swearing in like Court of Thorns and Roses says this too, rather than like, it's kind of like when Hemingway was criticizing Faulkner, he'd say like he thinks big words elicit big emotions, and like writers of today writing popular literature seem to think swearing elicits big emotions, when not really when you use it the way you do. Like a well-placed curse word does incredibly well, but when you're just free-flowing the swear words, like it loses its impact really fast because they're just words.
Yeah. So, I feel better that I'm not alone in realizing this was just bad writing and a bad story.
Yeah, no, this was brutal to get through.
So I got out of that book club meeting, and I'm just like, I'm confused. I need. I don't get it. I'm clearly missing something here, and I'll run it up the chain and see what someone that actually went to school for this sort of stuff can say.
Yeah, not my thing.
Yeah.
So try again, Emily Tesh.
Again, I like that, the people that want this kind of story have the ability to get it. Just this isn't deserving of the most prestigious science fiction award.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
So, but hey, that's just my opinion. What am I, just a dumb white guy?
Well, yeah, but
Well, what was the voice that you were doing? It
was your voice.
Yeah, my voice. Hey guys.
Oh, leave me alone, Kier. Gosh. All right. So that was Some Desperate Glory.
Before we, so the title. Right. Do you know where the title came from?
I know they title dropped it somewhere in the book.
Yeah, the very end. It's from the famous poem for World War One.
Oh, like the Dulce et Decorum?
Yep.
Yeah. Sweet and fitting it is to die for your country.
Yep, that's the one. So that's where the title came from. And it's like, man, Taka, I bet you if the author of that poem read this book, they'd be like, I'm taking that poem out of going back in time and killing myself before that poem gets read, so this book doesn't get to steal some of that glory.
Yeah, that is one of the worst poems ever written, so that's great. All right. Do you have any plugs for us, Joe?
Yeah.
Get on out of this 1-star review.
Yeah. Follow us on Instagram at Kendall Bookworms. If you want to contact us, you can through the DMs there. We have an email, kendallbookworms@gmail.com. We have a Facebook following group you can do. We are on all the major podcast apps and YouTube. More problems with the YouTube posting. I'm not just posting everything twice. I've given up, but it wants to do it twice for whatever reason. I don't know. So watch either one. Watch both of them. Get our ratings up,
please.
Let's see. Alex has some novels out. We'll have the Amazon link down in the description.
Yep. Paul Plimpton versus Ragnarok and The Destroyer.
Let's see, we are hosted by Podbean. Like and review us there. Spotify, Apple. Give us comments. Anything you can do to get our show out there in the world. Tell all your friends and family and enemies about us. Maybe there's someone you really don't like that you say, hey, there's this Some Desperate Glory book. I think this is the podcast for you. They really hammer at it. And I know you love that book, so this will really drive you nuts. Yeah, anything else I'm missing, Alex? I feel like I'm always doing less and less and missing something.
Oh, I think you got it. If you want to, let us know in the comments what Joe missed in our plugging.
Yeah.
Or if we got everything, give us a 5-star review.
Just give us a review, please. Please. Yeah.
Well, that was Some Desperate Glory. I'm Alex.
And I'm Joe.
And this has been Bookworms.
Out.